Hello, and welcome to Celebrating Differences, a podcast about interesting people. Today's going to be a little bit different as we don't have a single guest. I'm going to go out to a FrankenBike event and interview lots of people. And FrankenBike is an interesting event. It's bike part swap, where you bring all those things you've got stored in your garage, you bring them out, set up a table, and sell them for whatever you want. And it was started some time ago. You'll hear it in the interview with Chris Gross. And today it's a pretty special one because it's on the Bike Texas property. And Bike Texas started in 1972 or thereabouts and is still going strong and has now got property in Austin where it hopes to have an office someday. So let's get into it and see what's going on. And I'm out at FrankenBike, and what's FrankenBike to say? Well, this is FrankenBike. It's the ultimate swap meet, and so we have lots of different vendors out with bike pieces and parts and bikes, and there's all the parts you didn't need, and it's run by FrankenBike and Chris Gross. And by the way, we've done a podcast with Chris Gross, and I'll put links to it in the show notes. So FrankenBike, and today it's really special because it's on a piece of land that's owned by Bike Texas, the advocacy group for the whole state of Texas. They're right here in Austin, and this is their land. And no office yet, and in this world of virtual offices, there may never be an office, but here it is, and there's their tent over there, and we'll get an interview with Robin Stallings, who is their Chief Executive Officer, and there's their quote office these days. It's a little trailer, and those containers mostly have bikes on them, and that trailer is going to be a temporary office as well. So they're beginning to get this place sorted out. So we got
Rocket Electric as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm Michael.
You're Michael? Great. Yeah, I used to work at Bike Texas too. I was
awesome.
I was the education director for some years.
Yeah. Heck yeah, that's awesome. Well, we're kind of...
You're a little bit bigger now.
Yeah, we're going to be starting up a food park here.
I heard you are. That's good.
Yeah, so it's going to be awesome. So, and then hopefully we'll be doing more of these FrankenBike events here. I think he's already fell in love with this area.
Okay, I don't blame him. Right across the street, some of the best tacos.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah, right over there. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're going to do a little interview with the guy who runs FrankenBike, Chris Gross. And so, Chris,
hello everyone.
Tell us about FrankenBike. Why'd you do this?
About 18 years ago, I went to a yellow bike swap meet. I had never been to a swap meet or a bike swap meet. and I had the best time of my life, and I met the nicest people. And I didn't leave until it was over. And I asked them when the next one was, and they said they did it every year. And I was like, immediately I was like, you should do them once a month. And they're like, nah, we don't want to. And the person I was with, we were supposed to leave, and I said, leave me here. And I think for about 45 minutes, I tried to convince them. And it just wasn't in their wheelhouse for what they were doing. And I was like, well, okay, so I started FrankenBike. Because I wanted to go to the event. We don't make money. We're a business, so we can have insurance, because we want to have insurance. I'm not worried that as a business venture, we're not profitable, because it's not about money. Even though people are here to buy and sell and trade stuff, it's about our community. And I want to go to this event, so I started FrankenBike so I could come here.
Okay, Ned, this isn't the only place you have FrankenBike.
No, at one point we had it in 5 states, 11 cities at the same time, but then I would run out of money because it costs money to do it.
Sure.
Right now we're only in 2 markets. We're in San Antonio, which is going really strong. In fact, we're at a San Antonio booth. We drove down from San Antonio to Austin today. Got a guy down there named Mike Gomez, who is the San Antonio event manager. He's also the director of operations for the King Williams Fair. And Mike and I are really on the same page about we're just going to keep it going and grow it. We do have monetization ideas so that we're not coming out of pocket. And when I say we, Mike comes out of pocket on some stuff, but I own the company. I front the money for the insurance and stuff like that. But I think even just the 2 of us right now in the 2 cities, and the fact that they're so close, means FrankenBike's still alive and well, even though things have shut the world down for a while. Here we are, and we happen to be at an event today that is almost nostalgic of what it used to be like all the time.
Yeah.
So, and we do some special events, like we're doing a bicycle event the last day of June in Waco with the bicycle club that does a bicycle show. So on top of just having like monthly events in San Antonio and Austin, and we'll get back to maybe Houston again, or maybe in Fort Worth and grow it more. We've got some special events coming up that are just one-offs. They're not regular.
Okay.
Maybe they're just annually, but it's bikes and it's bike people. And
yeah. You know, the first time I came to FrankenBike, you were in the parking lot at the old Bike Texas office over by the railroad in East Side Austin. And it was out there in the lot, and it was so fantastic to just, be there and to watch what was going on.
On Toomey or not Toomey?
No, this was still over on like 5th or the
5th and Chacon.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original location.
The original location. And it was just, I looked out into the parking lot and said, wow, this is something. So yeah, that was really good, and fell in love with it ever since. And there's lots of things if you want to spend money on bike parts, and not a lot. You get good prices here.
Well, these are bright people, so I mean,
yeah.
There's some bikes like they're I guess they're priced like at what the most value you could get out of a bike would be. But the booth we're in right now, there's a Le Mans, like a 52 centimeter Le Mans. It was worth the $700 they were asking, because it's probably a $900 bike. It's debatable. You can't see the components. So you can't. That bike sold for $450, and the girl who bought it just was like, hey, what a deal.
Wow.
So there's always a but I think because everyone's kind of just recycling their stuff. Like, I've got 2 bikes here. If I sell one of them, that money is, I mean, you could say it's going to, my bank account, but I'm going to buy another bike with it. So I think that's why there are good deals, because we got our use out of it, or we traded it for some other stuff. So, yeah, man, it's a great place to buy bikes now, for sure.
Great. So Chris Gross. And how do we get hold of you, Chris?
Well, FrankenBike, the name, .net, .com, .org, .bike, .info. I think I own them all.
Okay.
And then our contact information is there. It's Chris at FrankenBike.net. My cell number's there. You can text me. You can come to the event. I'm accessible.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you can find me.
And I appreciate all the work you've ever done, Chris.
Well, you too, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for the interview.
Okay, we're in one of the booths now, and we're going to have an interesting conversation with the people in here doing parts and bikes. Yeah, they're the bikes. Okay, so all right, so you're selling bike parts. You probably don't do this for a living.
No, we don't do it for a living. It's a hobby. It's something that it's just a pleasure to do.
Yeah. And is it about community?
It's about bringing people together, the community, and offering something that it's to get starters into it the right way, and not just like a department store way. Just here, take it. You're on your own. Sorry, sucker, goodbye. You know, like we want people to be happy with what they get and direct them what they probably actually need instead of just selling them anything.
Back in one of those careers I had in my life, I had got to deal with a guy who bought bikes for Walmart. He bought 6 million bicycles a year, and one of the things that we worked really hard with him was to get the quality up, because a kid gets a Walmart bike, takes it home, it gets broken, he can't get it fixed, and he's off biking for life.
Or it's the wrong size, or it's not the right type of bicycle. It's like cycling, buying a bicycle is like buying a pair of shoes. You need to get what's going to be appropriate for the way you're going to use it, you know, and who you're going to be riding it with. You don't want to be buying yourself a full suspension mountain bike riding with a bunch of roadies on carbon fiber bikes. And that's where questions need to be asked that a lot of people won't ask. It's like, I will definitely talk myself out of the sale if it's the wrong bike for the person.
Okay.
Yeah, and then also the right size. The size has to be appropriate for the person. We won't let a person buy a bike that's too small or too big for them. Like, we will be up front. Sorry, that's not your size. You know,
and I asked you before if you wanted me to talk about how people could contact you if they wanted to. And are you interested in doing that or not?
I am okay with contact. You know, it's like it's like I don't like full out advertise what I do. Yeah. It's a hobby, but I'm always happy to help. And if I could be reached on Facebook, Thomas Arias, you know, and a Locke, you know, so
reach out.
Yeah, just our names. We're just going by our names. We're not going by any kind of shop name or anything special like that. It's like of course, make sure the message is bike related, because I'm not going to understand why somebody from China is calling me.
Yeah. Hello.
And if it's as basic as if somebody has a question, if they're like, I don't know what kind of bike, come over, you see what bikes we have, you see what equipment we have, and then we can also, we're in San Antonio, so then we can also be like, well, this is a good riding group, these are the riding groups to ride with, this is who we think, you know, meet up with this person, connect you with the right people to get you on the bike and having a good time while you're on the bicycle.
So, Anna, what bike do you ride?
I have a few bikes. I have an Eddie Merckx. I have a Bianchi. I have a Park Pre. And I think
so. To elaborate,
I have a few others.
Her Eddie Merckx is a carbon road bike. Her Bianchi is a gravel grinder, chromoly steel frame, chick design. And then her Park Pre is just a classic cruiser with 26-inch wheels and fat tires.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So one for everything.
One for everything. I have a bike
shoes.
that travels with me. I'm a travel nurse, and I have a bike that travels with me to all the cities I go to, and I usually will ride my bike in the city where I am.
So what travels with you? I've got a bike Friday that folds up in a suitcase.
Oh my goodness. So the bike traveling with me right now is my Bianchi. I bought the Park Pre in Boston with a great story. Tom found it for me. He's like, here, $30 for the Park Pre. Put some new tires on it and a new seat, and it's been across the country from one side to the other.
Cool.
She brought it home, and they got my Midas touch, you know, full restoration on the bike and updates.
So where did you learn your stuff, Tom?
I've been cycling forever. As a kid, I would cut my chains with a hammer and nail. I would tap that pin out until I got that chain to the right size. To this day, I don't understand how I ever did that. It's like, no, I would not attempt it again. I would not try to go to my roots. The proper tools is the best way to do it. Yep. But yeah, cycling, yes, all my life, ever since I was born, I've been riding a bike, you know. But as far as like full-on repairs, like half my life, you know, and it started off as a kid, just doing my own work. And I always did my own work, and came across a local shop owner in San Antonio and started working with him for a while, and then just I got fine-tuned into my abilities. So it's again, after my days, after my time, my years in the shop, you know, I had to make some real money, and but getting my hands dirty, greasy, you know, it never left me. It just stayed with me. As I don't think I could be without fixing something.
So let's see, this is not a bike injury, right?
No, it's not. Like I wish I had more fun doing this.
You need a really good story for that. I love the story. You were playing with your nephew and you twisted the wrong way, and there you go.
We were being silly on the beach, and my foot wanted to stay in place, and both of our bodies went the other way. So blew out my ACL and MCL. So
goodness.
Yeah. But I have some great people that are going to be taking care of it. So I'm looking forward to my recovery.
Good. Yep. So how long have y'all been together? And I'm assuming you are.
Yes, sir, we are. We actually met
when you asked that question.
That's I'm gonna say 4.5 to 5 years.
We're pushing 5 years.
We're pushing 5 years.
Yeah, it's great.
We're pushing 5 years. We're over 5 years.
Is this for sale?
Yes, it is. That's Chris's, and I think he's selling it at $450.
Yeah. So it's been an interesting adventure. I haven't ridden bikes my whole life. I remember riding my brother's bike when I was about 10 or 12, and then I didn't ride for a long time. And then when I moved back to San Antonio, I got into cycling, and that was probably 2016, 2017.
Okay.
Tom and I met soon after.
Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
So I was born in San Antonio, and then I was raised in Floresville, and then moved back here in 2015.
Okay. And Tom, where were you born?
I was born on the moon. Got bored, so I took a leap and landed on this planet. I was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's always fun to ask that, because it gives you a context, a little bit of a context about where people grew up, what what they knew growing up, and that kind of thing. When I was 11, 12, I moved from rural Louisiana to Westport, Connecticut.
Oh wow!
And you talk about a culture shock. Yeah, it just, and my accent changed, everything changed, and it was a shock in the 7th grade. And I showed up in school the day before Valentine's Day, just crazy. So thank you very much for your time today, and I love the stuff you're doing. They have spent time with me and talked with me, and it's just been very enjoyable. And so I thought it'd be fun to let y'all see some of the people out at FrankenBike. So say bye.
Bye, thank you.
Cheerio. This is an interesting place he's got here. He's got a trailer with a view, a penthouse view. And there's Robin. And we're going to interview Robin, who is the executive director of Bike Texas, has been for how many years?
19.
19 years. And we're going to do it in his penthouse. Okay, Robin, you're on camera. So who are you?
Well, I'm from Texas, and I have been committed to bicycle advocacy for a very long time. And I've got my dream gig working for Bike Texas, and we work at the local, state, and federal level to advance bicycling and pedestrian. But for 31 years now, I'm the 4th executive director.
Right. And the first one who didn't have the initials C and G or some version. It was like Charlie Gandy, and then I forget
Glenn Gadbois.
Glenn Gadbois, so 2 G's.
And then Gail Cummings.
Gail Cummings, which was GC. Yeah. So I thought it was funny, yeah. And then here comes Robin Stallings, and he took over in 2004. 3? Okay. Yeah. So that's been a long and good run.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We've gotten a lot done, and we've had our challenges, but we seem to have survived COVID, which is a big test for nonprofits. And and now we happen to be in a ½ acre of property that will be likely a future building for us. And now we're in a little pod that's a tiny office. But those are some of the containers that we use. We'll be storing electric bikes and running our e-bike tours out of here. Today is, you probably already heard on this podcast, but it's a bike swap meet called FrankenBike. We're happy to host. First time since pre-COVID, but we've hosted it many times in the past.
I was telling Chris Gross, who runs FrankenBike, that first time I saw FrankenBike, they were in the parking lot at the old Bike Texas office over on what, 5th and Chacon?
East 6th.
Yeah, or East 6th, yeah, over in there.
Oh, actually, could have been East 5th before we even went to 6th Street.
All right.
1704 East 6th, yeah. And I think there's a really nice little restaurant over there right now. I forgot the name of it.
Okay. Yeah, we were in sort of a back room there, and it was a great location to get started with. So, yeah, it was fun to see FrankenBike get started back there.
Yeah.
He got to be pretty big. He said he got to like 5 states at one time, and he's back down now, so he's pretty much San Antonio and Austin.
Yeah.
So, how many members in Bike Texas?
Well, we, you know, it's hard to say. We tend to refer to it as supporters, and we, you know, think somewhere in about the 15 to 20,000, because people don't join exactly the way they used to, but they show other ways of support by, you know, different one-time donations, or they are supporters on social media or on our website. So that's probably about the rough range.
Okay.
And they're across the entire state of Texas.
So every congressional district.
We've got somebody in every single congressional district, and virtually every single House district at the state legislature level, and every Senate district, and that is really the key to our success. We passed a bill almost every single Texas legislative session, which is almost unheard of for a nonprofit group. But it's because of those supporters that we have that trust us to respond when we ask. And we are like precision on, if you happen to have a member that's undecided, you know, your legislator is on the right committee, say transportation, and they haven't said no, and they haven't said yes, we focus on those maybes. And then we ask supporters like you to call them, or to send an email, or to show up at our lobby day to talk to them. Sometimes we recruit some of those same supporters to come in and testify at committee hearings. Okay. And so it's when legislators realize that their own constituents, whichever party, care about these issues, then that tends to bring them our way.
So back in 2001, I think that's probably the first time I met you, somewhere in there, and we pushed a bill, the Matthew Brown Act, in the legislature in Texas, and the vision I have, we got a lot of it passed. Not all of it passed, but lots of it did. But the great vision I had was that when we stepped on a bill that was going to limit the number of cyclists into groups to 3 on farm-to-market roads. And the guy who sponsored that bill stood up at the end of all that and says, "Don't mess with the cyclist." And I just remember that, and I thought, oh yeah, that's worth every bit of the time we spent in the legislature.
That was an incredible campaign, and that was, we did meet a year or two before then, but that was our first legislative session to work together. And that bill was, there was 2. We had the omnibus Matthew Brown Act, which became Safe Routes to School, and the whole national Safe Routes to School funding, which turned into billions of dollars from that same session. But then there was a big threat, and that was to ban bikes from the farm-to-market roads. And it had other little provisions about cycling in 3, or a big, you know, a danger triangle on the back. And so the cyclists really came out for that. And that senator was so contrite afterwards, because we had gone to him early and said, we're going to have a real fight. This is an Alamo for us. But if you drop the bill, come join this other bill called Safe Routes to School. And he didn't do it then. He probably regretted that too later. But later he said, okay, I carried that bill because constituents asked for it. I will not do that again. And you let me know when you need a friend in the Texas Senate. And he made good on his word, and he became one of our champions. And he made a difference in several bills along the way, because he was, you know, had a lot of seniority and was on key committees. So that was a lesson that we learned, that enemies are not permanent in the legislature, and always give people an out and show them respect and give them a chance to be an ally in the future. And so we've taken those lessons to heart.
Yeah, you know, my vision is, I was education director of Texas Bike Bicycle Coalition, which became Bike Texas, when we met, and I was not a politician, and I was really uncomfortable with that stuff that you have to do in the political scene, and Robin taught me a lot, and you know, now went on to the national level with the League of American Bicyclists and did make some good calls on legislators over the years, and it's all because of what you taught me.
Well, I do remember when we worked, and we had such a completely different way of looking at things because you came with your engineering background and your experience and focus on education, which I'll just say you were the 2002 National Educator of the Year for the work that you did at Bike Texas, and that's made a huge impact on the state to this day. But but you know, we all have to learn that sausage making that they talk about, it's not logical, it's not compelling. You know, it's the compelling story and argument isn't necessarily what's going to move a legislator. And when we started this, we talked about having those constituents that trust us enough to respond when we ask them to. And that's what gets a legislator. If they have their constituents, you know, even if it's, you know, 5 or 10 in a district, can make them feel like that if there's 10, there's probably 100. And so that will move a legislator a lot more than the best argument in the world, because every side can come up with a good argument. But it's important to show either with, you know, that grassroots support and show that voters care about this. And, you know, more corporate people and folks with deeper pockets can, you know, build friends and favors with campaign contributions. But that's not our strong suit. You know, ours is, you know, having real people on the ground that will look them in the eye and say, please vote this way. You know, my sister, my mother, my brother, my dad, my uncle, aunt, you know, this would have made a difference for them, or this will make a difference for my children. Please vote this way. And that makes such a huge difference.
So, Robin Stallings, and he's made a difference in the national scene for bicycling. If you ride a bike in Texas, certainly, or anywhere in the United States, Robin's work has probably made a difference in your life. So, thank you, Robin Stallings and Bike Texas.
Well, thank you so much, and I will also thank Bike Texas. When I started, I'm the 4th executive director, as Preston said, and I started with a good brand. And I hope when my time is done as caretaker for this organization, that it will carry on and that I will have handed off as strong a brand as I received.
And if you go online to biketexas.org, you can find one of these shirts, and they'd be glad to sell it to you.
Yeah, please buy a shirt and join us. $5 a month can make a world of difference.
All right. Thanks, Robin.
Thanks, Preston.
So, that's another episode of Celebrating Differences, and we've had some interesting people, and that last interview with Robin was so great. He knows what he's talking about when you're talking about advocacy. So, all those people there are either former friends or current friends or friends for the future, and let's see what we can do for another podcast in the future. Please join us. Check down below, subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and ring the little bell, and you'll be notified anytime we put up information on our podcast. So, thank you, and enjoy the day.